Hey guys, it's Michael Kummer here. In today's video I want to talk to you about something stupid that I did recently, and that is I completed the Murph challenge, a pretty demanding CrossFit workout at the tail end of a 48-hour fast. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this channel and you click on the little alert button so you get notified when I publish more videos like this. So for those of you who don't know what Murph is, let me tell you what the workout consists of. So the workout consists of a 1 mile run, followed by 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and then another mile run. And you do all of that with a 20-pound weight vest. Usually that workout takes you anywhere from, I want to say, 40 to 60 minutes or so. And it's really demanding. It's even demanding if you don't wear a weight vest, and it's also demanding if you partition up the pull-ups, push-ups, and the squats. So what many people do is, instead of doing 100 pull-ups in a row, they do 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats, and repeat that whole cycle for 20 rounds. And the advantage of breaking that up is that you give your muscles a little bit of a rest. So you give your triceps a rest after the pull-ups, you give your legs a rest, etc. Now, that's how I did Murph in the past, but this year I decided I want to do it unpartitioned. So 100 pull-ups in a row before I would move on to the 200 push-ups and then to the 300 squats. And I also decided to do it with a weighted vest, so with a 20-pound vest, and that's because I just got that vest I think for Christmas from my wife. And so this was the very first time for me doing it unpartitioned, doing it with a weight vest. And then I decided, and stupidly, that I should do that at the end of a 48-hour fast. And the reason why I decided to do this was because I wanted to experience how our ancestors must have felt when they didn't find any food for a couple of days and then had to fight a saber-toothed tiger or a mammoth or whatever, to finally get to eat. Obviously it's not the same, I'm sure it's more stressful and more intense to fight a wild animal than doing, a Murph challenge, but still it's the best that I could do. And so that's the reason why I did it. It was pretty brutal. And so let's look at some of the footage that I recorded leading up to Murph, how my ketone levels were, how my blood sugar was, and then how the workout went, and how I felt and what happened to some of these biometrics throughout the workout. It's pretty interesting. Now, one of those things that happen during prolonged fasts is that your body's metabolism changes and switches from burning glucose as its primary source of fuel to burning ketones. And so I've noticed relatively early on that my body would switch into full ketosis. I think at one of the measurements throughout the 48-hour fast, I measured almost 40 ACEs. That's using my breath ketone meter, so I was in full ketosis at that point. I also noticed, looking at my continuous glucose monitor here, that my glucose levels were relatively low, in the low to mid 60s for the whole 2 days. So I was relatively low in blood sugar. I didn't feel hypoglycemic or anything, so I was doing fine, but my blood sugar was relatively low. So what I expected to happen during the workout was that my glycogen stores, my body's glycogen stores, the reserves of glucose in the liver and in the muscle tissue, would be relatively low and depleted, and that I would probably hit a wall relatively early on. Once my remaining glycogen stores would be depleted, I was basically would be running on fumes at that point. So let's look at some of the footage leading up to it, and then we'll switch to the workout and see how that went. Hey guys, so it's 11:30 on a Thursday now, and I just cooked my last meal before the Murph challenge. So it's 11:30 right now in the morning, and I picked eggs with bacon and cheese and avocado as my last meal. And then on Saturday, I'm gonna do the Murph challenge at 9:30. So I'm probably gonna end around, 10:30-ish or so. And so I'll break my fast at 11, and that will push me to 48 hours. So I'm gonna end my fast with the Murph challenge. It's gonna be fun, and this is my last meal. I'm gonna try the heck out of it. All right, lunch break. It's been exactly 24 hours since I ate yesterday lunch, and I worked out this morning. Felt pretty weak starting the workout, but then as my body started releasing glycogen, to have some glucose for fuel, I started feeling really good. So hopefully I won't miss this glycogen tomorrow for the Murph challenge. But I think overnight my body's gonna do a good job of converting some of the damaged proteins and damaged cells into glucose in a process called gluconeogenesis. It's actually amazing how the body can make glucose from non-carbohydrate sources. And so hopefully by tomorrow my glycogen stores are gonna be refilled, at least so I hope, because if not, Murph's gonna be a bitch. It probably will be, but yeah, that's a quick update at the 24-hour mark. It's 7 p.m. now, the night before or the evening before the Murph challenge tomorrow. I'm been getting a little hungry, not too bad, but I'm not feeling super energetic, not surprisingly. Just did a ketone test. I'm like at 34 ACEs or so about 3 point something mmol per liter. So I'm in full deep ketosis, unsurprisingly, because my body needs, get energy from somewhere, and it's ketones at this point. And we'll see how tomorrow goes. Good morning, it's about 6 a.m. I just got up. I'm gonna measure my ketone levels next, see what they are doing, and we'll get ready for Murph. So let's see where our ketones level are at. 29 ACEs, pretty good. My blood sugar has been in the low 60s, redlining all night. But apparently I'm running well on ketones. Don't feel really hypoglycemic or anything, so all good.
10 seconds. All right, 5. Remember, go past the Preston Ridge light, go to the Preston Ridge office complex, come back.
So as you could see, the run went relatively well. I tried to keep my mouth closed, to breathe through my nose only, and my heart rate didn't go up that far. I was overall feeling not bad. I was feeling relatively good. With the heart rate, I think it topped out like in the low 170s or so. I still felt pretty good. And then I started the pull-ups. So I had planned on doing sets of 5s for the pull-ups, and I could sustain that actually. I had to take a little longer breaks than I wanted, but that was because I could feel the energy, draining out of my body. The pull-ups, they were not very difficult per se, but I could tell that I had to put in much more effort than I had anticipated. And the energy that I used up for those pull-ups, I would be missing then for my push-ups. So let's look at those next. The push-ups were absolutely brutal. I had planned doing sets of 5 or worst case scenario sets of 3. I couldn't do either. I had to go to sets of 2, and even those got really spicy. There were some push-ups where the second one I barely could, snake myself up and get into a proper position. It was incredibly difficult, and I had to take a long break, several seconds between those sets of 2. And in some cases I'm like, you know what, let's take a little bit of a shorter break. And I could tell whenever I did that, the second push-up was almost impossible. I was in absolute muscle fatigue. I was done. I had nothing left in me other than, just waiting it out to kind of, get the triceps and the chest recharged, and then do another 2. And I would be completely empty again. Wait a little bit, do another 2. It took me forever. I mean, it was literally 100 rounds of 2. My knees were hurting already. At some point I got a mat so I could at least kneel on something soft, because my knees were starting to hurt. It was absolutely miserable. So I was so glad when I was finally done with the push-ups, and then I thought, okay, the squats, they can't be that difficult. So let's crank out, sets of 30 or 40 maybe, and see how it goes. And boy, was I in for a surprise. Seriously, I did 10 or 15 and I would feel lightheaded. I'm like, holy moly, I'm gonna die here. So I kept doing, I think it was sets of 30 or so, or sets of 10, I don't recall. And I kept chipping away, but doing that for 300 reps is gonna take forever. And so at some point I thought, you know what, let's try a set of 30 or 40 and 50. And I kept doing that, and I realized I wouldn't feel any worse after 30, 40 or 50 than I would feel after 10 or 15. So I kept then finally cranking up the rep count and made larger sets, and I should have done it in retrospect from the beginning. I think if I do that next time, I'm gonna start with larger sets to begin with, so it's not gonna take me forever and it's not gonna feel any worse at that point. And then we had the final run.
Come on, Mike.
That's it, Mike. That's it, Mike. Finish 20, finish 20.
Come on, Mike.
Go down, man. Go down, bud.
And the final round was absolutely brutal. Again, not from a heart rate perspective. My heart rate wasn't really high, but I just felt like if I give 5% more, I'm gonna throw up. And I finished that mile and I came in at 64 whatever minutes, and that was pretty brutal. All right, that was Murph. Just blew a 37 on the ketones. My blood sugar spiked only to 94 because I was absolutely empty. I had no glycogen left. I hit a wall really early during the push-ups. Had to do sets of 2s. Squats, I did like sets of 10 in the beginning, and then I cranked it up to 30s and 40s. The last run was absolutely brutal. Came in at 64.27, I believe. I was absolutely done. That was the worst workout I've ever done. Not cardiovascularly, my heart rate didn't go up very far, but I was just muscle fatigue from nose to toe. Absolutely empty. So, can it be done? Murph on a 2-day fast, or after a 2-day fast? Yes. Is it a great idea? Absolutely not, unless you want to prove what you can do and want to feel out how your body reacts. And actually it wasn't, it was bad, but it could have been worse. So the first thing I did, once I had completed the Murph challenge, I drank a honey water, basically water with, honey, raw honey with lukewarm water, just to get some glucose back into my body. And I did that. I ate 2 bananas, and looking at my blood sugar, it barely spiked. So it must have soaked all of that up in no time. It was pretty impressive how my body reacted then to that sugar load by not spiking at all. It was pretty fun. And someone asked me then at the end, are you gonna do this again? And I said, probably yes, because I think there are ways on how I can improve. I wanna do, larger sets of squats. I wanna train my triceps so it doesn't fatigue that quickly. So I wanna try to do the same thing again, but complete it in less than an hour. It took me, I think, almost 65 minutes last time, so I think I'm gonna do this again. One thing that I've learned is that it can be done, but there are certainly limits at what you can do. In fact, looking at my recovery score on Whoop, it took me about 10 days to fully recover. This was a huge stressor on my body. I mean, fasting is a stressor, high intensity workouts are a stressor. Mind you that the day before Murph, I also worked out, fasted already. So I had really 2 workouts and one very intense one within that 48-hour fasting window. So it literally sucked the life out of my body, and it took a while to recover. So if you want to try this at home, if you want to do this too and see how your body reacts, just make sure that you offer your body plenty of time to recover and plenty of time to recover. It's very important. Otherwise, you're going to get into an overtraining, and that can lead to injury and fatigue, etc. And you don't want that. So it was a fun experiment. I'll probably do it again, but then again, I also want to see what I can do, without being fasted, what I can do in Murph. So maybe next year I'm gonna do it without in a fasted state, being in a fasted state, and then I do it again fasted. But it's definitely fun. Well, it wasn't fun, it was actually horrible. But it was kind of a good experience to find out, see what my body can do at almost 40 years of age. And it turns out I can do more than what I thought. So with that said, I hope you liked this video. I hope you find it entertaining and you got something out of it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, let me know in the comments what I could have done better. Until next time.